Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. Today's episode is Grey's Anatomy Season 3, Episode 11, 6 Days. The episode in a nutshell is a brief reminder of what happened in this episode. So as usual, we will be beginning with the patient stories. So first we have, carrying over from the last episode, Laura Thompson Gray, who is Meredith's niece, who was recently born premature and who is in the NICU being taken care of by Addison and Alex. And she briefly has an issue or complication come up where she's then taken to surgery to have that resolved while her mother's at home with the flu, so Thatcher is around having to take care of all of the details with regards to that. Then we have a new patient named Heather who has a severe curving of her spine, which basically requires her to walk around bent over at 90 degrees. And Callie suggests an experimental surgery to Derek where they can remove a portion of the spine and replace it with wire mesh, which would, if it goes well, allow her to stand up straight and live a relatively normal life. However, consequences, should it not go well, would be either complete paralysis or death. And then Heather jumps at the chance for the surgery because she thinks death is not the worst thing and that her current situation may even be worse to her, so her mom goes along with her. However, the insurance then won't cover the surgery. But Izzy, who has been basically forced to finally deposit her check, who wanted always to do something good with the money, decides to fund Heather's surgery with the money after she deposits it. And she does so because her shrink won't clear her for surgery until she deposits the check, and she wants in on the surgery. But Bailey realizes that she's too emotionally involved, and so she doesn't get the surgery anyways. But she is content with that decision at the end of the episode, telling Bailey that she is both a surgeon and someone who gets emotionally involved, and that she's not going to give up either part of her. And then the final patient, of course, is George's father, who is going in for his cancer surgery. And they do warn him that if the cancer has spread, because his body likely won't be able to handle the recovery, they will stop and send him home with the cancer to have a few weeks or months. However, Harold then tells them that that's not what he wants, that he wants the chance to fight the cancer, and that he wants them to do the surgery no matter what they find, to remove as much as they can, and let him fight for it, which Richard and Bailey do end up doing. However, unfortunately, Harold is not able to overcome the recovery of the surgery, and he does pass away. And then as to like kind of background dramas, we basically have Burke and Christina continuing their silent treatment in the post-op phase of Burke's surgery, which happened off screen between the last episode and this one. Though by the end of the episode, Burke does happen to tell someone else in the room while Christina's there that he hasn't had any tremors. I think it was Derek in the room doing the post-op while Christina was there. Or it could have been a nurse. I can't remember, even though I just finished watching it. Then we have Meredith and Derek spend the entire episode kind of struggling with the fact that she snores and that they can't get any sleep. And she finds out that he's actually been waiting until she fell asleep, going somewhere else to sleep, setting an alarm, and then coming back before she wakes up. And Meredith also learns from Thatcher that he also snores and that wax earplugs have been known to help. So at the end of the episode, she does leave Derek some wax earplugs on her pillow to hopefully allow him to sleep the night through. And given the smile on his face, it seems it does work. George obviously is dealing with his father, though he does briefly, well, Callie wonders if they may be together because when he's excited post-op for his father, when he sees that his kidneys are functioning at the start, that he does kiss Callie, but they don't establish anything going on there, so whether they get back together or not remains to be seen. Um, Izzy deposited her check, so that was her drama. Addison and Alex have a bit of a flirtation. However, whether again that's due to actually being in a relationship or an emotional response, I'm unsure because they have a bit of a flirtation, but it's revealed that Addison and Mark are having a bit of drama. Mark's a particular jerk. Addison saying that this week it's fine because it's revealed that she got pregnant with Mark's baby when they were together in New York. She aborted the baby, and the due date would have been during that week. And so she's basically giving Mark a free pass to be a bit of a jerk because she believes he has a good reason, but then she's also in an emotional state. And then there's Alex. So I don't know if they started a relationship or if it was just a one kiss thing at the bar when she's drinking because of the emotional turmoil of the week. But I believe that covers all of the patience and drama for this particular episode. Bringing us now to the rankings. And as always, we will be ranking on our mostly objective ranking list, followed by the personal ranking list. So to start with, I'm going to start with the honorable mentions. So for supporting relationship development, technically Callie and George did kiss. However, they haven't established that they're back together yet. And it also could have been just like an excited emotional response rather than, like having feelings behind it. So I'm holding points for that one because I'm not certain if they're back together yet or not. So I didn't give points, but I do want to mention that it happened. And then a second honorable mention is Alex and Addison's kiss, as I mentioned. Again, it could have just been like one of those, I'm really down in the dumps, I'm at a bar, here's my go-to guy sitting there, let me kiss him to make myself feel better or something like that. Like it doesn't, like I don't know if they're actually going to become a couple or if it was like a similar to like a one night stand, but instead of a one night stand, a one night kiss. It's unclear. So again, I held points on that because I wasn't certain if it actually is going to be any sort of supporting relationship development or like a one-time thing. So those are the honorable mentions. Now to the actual points that I gave for the episode. It starts off with positive 1 point for our single episode supporting character introduction, which was Heather Douglas. Then we have our multi-season supporting character development, which was Harold's surgery and his passing away, which was worth 3 points. An additional 3 points for the successful emotional impact. I mentioned in other episodes that Harold was a very likable character. They did a really good job writing him to be incredibly likable, so as I wasn't very fond of George's behavior in relation to how he dealt with his father being in the hospital, I do think that it is realistic to the way people would react to a loved one in the hospital if they were part of the hospital and had the knowledge that George has in the hospital. But because Harold was made into such a likable character from the first time that we saw him and he got shot in the butt to the to this time while he was in the hospital and all of the sweet words that he said and like the nice moments and the interactions that everyone was having with him. Like he just seemed like a really nice man. So him dying definitely pulled on the heartstrings enough that I felt it deserved 3 points for successful emotional impact when he did die. Then we had the multi-season main character development worth 4 points, which is Izzy finally depositing her check as well as paying for Heather's surgery as a way to do something good with that money, which was always her goal. She didn't want to deposit it until she could find a good use for it. And now her first good use for that was funding a change in Heather's life from being bent 90 degrees to potentially standing up straight. And then finally, we have our main relationship developments, which was while Christina and Brooke are still having their little silent treatment, the entire episode, Burke was purposefully not telling anybody about his status because he didn't want it getting back to Christina to kind of like hold it against her. But by the end of the episode, Burke does tell Derek that he has no tremors while Christina is in the room. I think it's Derek. It could also have been a nurse, but I'm pretty sure it was Derek. And also kind of tagging along with that, the resolution to the Meredith Derek snoring issue with the wax earplugs also can count towards that 4 points, but either way, that is the end of our positive points, and it's at 15 so far. However, I did also feel that there were some negatives to this episode. First one is our supporting relationship regression or breakup. And this, of course, was to do with Addison and Mark. We know that they had been in a relationship while they were in New York. And in this episode, we learn some more of that history. And part of what also led to the breakup is, again, Mark's cheating, that he had slept with multiple people. And also that Addison aborted Mark's baby because she wanted Derek's baby, not his, and thought that Mark would be a terrible father. And it's also revealed that Mark had been very excited about the baby. He went out and bought a onesie. He marked down the due date. He was getting really happy about it. Though throughout the episode, it does reveal that, he probably wouldn't have been a good father after all, and that he's sort of rewriting history because Addison notes that because he was cheating frequently, like they wouldn't have still been together. They would have been a broken home. Even if the baby had come, like that wouldn't have kept them in their relationship. And we get a bit more of that backstory and how that relationship regressed and eventually ended. Then we have the main relationship regression or breakups, which were minus 3 points each. And that, of course, had to do first with Christina and Burke still basically playing uncle with the silent treatment. Neither one of them wants to admit that, like, wants to lose, wants to give the other the power. So they're refusing to talk to each other, but are willing to talk to other people. And Burke is purposefully keeping whether or not he has tremors still from her. Though again, at the end of the episode, he does reveal that he hasn't had a tremor in the time since the surgery. And then Meredith and Derek have fighting basically throughout the episode over her snoring. It starts with her finding out that he sleeps elsewhere, and she talks about how she has abandonment issues, so he has to sleep with her. But then when he tries to sleep with her, he can't sleep because of the snoring. So then they end up fighting, and then she gets annoyed at his stubble and his morning breath, and she tries, nasal strips and other methods to try to limit her snoring, and it doesn't work. But ultimately, like I said, at the end of the episode, they do introduce the wax earplugs, so that seems to resolve that issue. And then the last negative point is the weaker dislikable supporting character, and I usually exclude characters meant to be disliked, but this character I don't think we were meant to dislike. And so Heather Douglas, I understand she was dealt a hard hand in life, but she was incredibly rude to basically everyone from the jump, even throughout it. And even like with Izzy, she talks about, how with her look, she should be dumb, and how, she assumes pretty people are always happy and lucky. And then when she finds out about like what happened to Izzy's fiance, then she's sorry for being so mean to her. But it's like, your default should be nice to someone until they do something to deserve you being mean to them, and then because they deserve it, be mean to them. But to just be mean to everybody right off the start because you're bitter, and I don't know, I didn't like that attitude in life. And everybody deals with their traumas in different ways, but I feel like you shouldn't make your trauma other people's problem. And so that's something that Heather did do in being mean. And even like when they tried to help her, or like, tell her what her prognosis would look like, she basically, again, is very rude to all of the doctors, telling them not to make promises they can't keep, and blah, blah, blah. Just very negative, very rude, very dislikable. And so I did take the 4 points for that aspect of the character. Though on a personal, like a person to person level, I can understand why someone, having been dealt those cards, might be rude about it. I have also seen many real life stories where people have taken the hands that they were dealt and did very positive things with them and had very positive outlooks and such. So it's not impossible that it could have gone another way, which is why I still think taking it in that negative way is dislikable from my perspective on the outside. And while the mostly objective rank values don't include necessarily emotions, bias and judgment can still apply. And my judgment and bias say she didn't need to be that rude, she didn't need to be that dislikable, she didn't need to be that mean to people that she had just met when she had no reason to be. So that leaves us with a 3 out of 10. And that brings our mostly objective ranking so far to in first, Where the Boys Are, Don't Stand So Close to Me, Let the Angels Commit, I Am a Tree, Time Has Come Today, Oh the Guilt, Staring at the Sun, From a Whisper to a Scream. This episode 6 Days comes in 9th place, followed by What I Am and Sometimes a Fantasy. Meanwhile, on the personal ranking side, I did score it highly. I did give it a 9 out of 10 because I did find amusement in the Christina Burke situation, um, and in the Meredith Derek situation. Meredith and Thatcher, I felt like that was kind of a really, really background, like third or fourth string storyline that they had going on. But I did think it was nice that she did ultimately find out that she got her snoring from him and he gave her the solution for Derek to help them resolve their issue. Very much, like I said, Harold was a very likable character, and he came off in the brief scenes that we got from him as a very, very nice man. And so when he did die, it did pull at the heartstrings. It was emotionally fraught, and I did enjoy the fact that it was successful because honestly, it rarely is for me that it does actually have the impact that it's meant to. Like I said, I didn't really like Heather, so that lost some points. But at the same time, that was a catalyst to Izzy's drama's conclusion, which was that she finally got that check deposited and that she was able to do something good with it that she had wanted to do with it. And overall, I felt like while it could be a little bit slow at times with the storytelling, I did like that it was basically a double episode length so that they could give all of the drama the sort of time that it needed so that it didn't feel like anything was being kind of shortened or cut off unnecessarily. Like all of the impacts could be impactful because they put the time and effort into allowing it to have the time that it needed to resonate and to make that impact. So, overall, as I said, I gave it a 9 for the entertainment value overall and its overall success with regards to the emotional impacts of the dramas. Bringing our personal ranking so far to in first place, Don't Stand So Close to Me. This episode came in second at 6 Days. Where the Boys Are, From a Whisper to a Scream, Staring at the Sun, Let the Angels Commit, I Am a Tree, What I Am, Sometimes a Fantasy, Time Has Come Today, and then in last place for me is Oh, the Guilt. Bringing us now to the final segment, which is our series ranking so far. And on our mostly objective ranking, we have Season 1 in first place at 77.78%, Season 2 in second at 76.67%, and Season 3 so far has a score of 61 out of a possible 230. Meanwhile, on the personal ranking side, I do have Season 2 in first place at 72.22%, Season 1 in second at 66.67%, and then Season 3 so far is doing pretty well at an 82 out of a possible 230. But with that, we've now rewatched and ranked Grey's Anatomy Season 3, Episode 11, 6 Days. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.